Welcome to our Savvy series. I'm Catherine Magana here with Rachel Ivanovich, and we're going to continue the conversation on relationships and money. And today we're going to discuss avoiding romance scams. So what is this? And we hear a lot of different things and stories, but we thought we'd kind of walk you through a few different scenarios. The first is love with caution. So a woman's guide to avoiding romance fraud. And so a little back history or statistics on this. It looks like romance scams have seen an increase over the last few years. In 2021, reporting that there was $547 million in romance scams, and
that's crazy.
That is a
That's
lot.
A lot of
I
money.
know,
That's a lot
and
of money.
that's a rise from $87 million in 2017. So that's pretty much, in a short period of time, there's a significant increase on the romance scams that are out there, and that was reported from Norton. And it's kind of who's the most vulnerable. Usually, it's it's the misconception is it's just older women, but the demographics and the scams are coming from not only older women but also educated, successful, really just those exploiting some of those individuals that are out there. So it's it's one of those things that you can provide an emotional tool and really cause stress. But the thing is that I think if you're when you're in it, you're probably excited and happy and thinking, oh, there's this new relationship. But the reality is you have to be very, very careful.
Yeah, talk about looking for love in all the wrong places. I mean, seriously, I'm grateful that I am married.
Yes.
I'm very married, and that I don't have to go on dating sites. So, literally, my heart goes out to all you ladies who are looking for love online. And let's just talk a little bit about how these romance scams work, and common platforms that scammers use. So they're frequently using dating apps, and I have a few single friends, and they definitely fall victim to this situation. I have a couple of not fun stories, but they also use social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and even professional networking sites. And so no one is really safe, because oftentimes these scammers do create fake profiles. I mean, we hear about it with our teens.
But it's also adults.
Adults as well are falling victim to these scams. And so that was just a resource from consumer.ftc.gov. So typical scammer tactics. So there's something called love bombing. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before.
Heard of that, no.
But I have a friend this happens to quite often, and she's looking for love online, and it's where the scammers are overwhelming their victims with excessive affection and attention too quickly. So if you get in a relationship and all of a sudden, they're too touchy-feely, trying to build up that sense of intimacy too quickly, you may be a victim of love bombing, and you may want to watch out, because the next thing is they're going to start asking for money. Another one is emotional manipulation. So basically, they're telling you fake stories, that trying to get your sympathy. Maybe they had a personal tragedy or some sort of emergency, and they need money, and they're appealing to your sense of, your heart.
You want to help.
But then maybe they're also creating a sense of urgency and really pressuring you to act quickly. So you just be very, very cautious. Run it by friends. Maybe even, have your friends meet this individual before you hand over money.
Yeah. It's interesting. We actually had a friend that her husband passed away, so she was a recent widow. And this is a few years ago now, before the rise of all these romance scams. But she ended up meeting somebody online, and I think it was kind of the dating, and kind of started connecting and talking. And she ended up, I don't think she never met him, but she ended up giving him some money. And once again, it being one of those scams. But here, you're grieving, you're going through something major in your life, and you're looking for some, relationships and companionship. And so, it's one of those things that it's real, and it does happen.
Especially if you're used to being in a long-term relationship, and that feels normal. So you really want to watch out for some red flags. And a couple of those are, number one, if somebody starts moving too fast in the relationship. Scammers often tell you they love you very quickly, and I have a friend that this happened to, and it took her a little bit off guard. But she ended up paying for a vacation for this man, and just. But he told her, I think it was like the second date, they were on, or maybe it was even a phone call. Oh, I love you. So be careful. That's a red flag. Number 2, avoiding if the scammer is avoiding a video call or in-person meetings and just wants to talk on the phone, and then of course then they come up with an emergency and I need money to speak. If they make excuses to avoid face-to-face interactions, or if they claim to be overseas and I need money to get back to the States so I can see you, and I love you. Be careful. And then another one, of course, would be claiming to be overseas for work, and maybe they're truly not. So common professional scammers, they claim that they're in the military. They're often, maybe they're oil rig workers, or maybe they're international contractors. So just be very careful.
So let's touch on financial and security risk. So basically how some scammers persuade victims to send money. So sometimes you'll see, and I've actually encountered this a few times, so it's not just romance, but just in general. I was part of an association where I was the president of the association, so it's not uncommon for me to do things or ask for things. Well, the treasurer got an email from me saying, can you buy some, gift cards, and so then they, ended up being a scam, and it wasn't real. Like, thankfully, they got to me.
They recognized that email wasn't from you?
Yes. But then recently, over the last couple months, we actually had an intern that was working with us, and they got a text from me asking them to get some gift cards. So anytime you see gift cards like this or something out of the ordinary, and I think the text came like at 5 a.m, which isn't uncommon for me because I'm up early.
And I think you can hover over the email and just
see
the
name,
and see if it has any weird characters or.
But I just thought it was weird, like even the texting part. Like here, this intern's like, "Oh my God, I'm working here, and should I go do this?" And so she asked.
I remember. Yeah,
it was just kind of interesting. So it's romance, but also you'd be aware in general of kind of the security risks and scams that are out there. And then identity theft risk, so really being intentional with your information and private information, and really not sharing that, unless you are certain that it's, verifying who you're giving that information to. And then it's, there's the long-term impact of trying to recover if something does happen. There's a lot of steps that require to recover any losses or legal action and credit monitoring.
How do you protect yourself? Yeah. I mean, that would be the question I would be asking myself right about now. Yeah. So make sure you're verifying the person's identity that you're going out with, and or going to be, if you haven't met them in person. Make sure you're performing reverse image searches on profile pictures. Make sure the person that you're meeting is actually the person that they say they are. Check for consistent social media presence. If you go to to Instagram and they have like one picture, that might be a flag. But you really want to be verifying people's authenticity. And then it's really important because romance it's a roller coaster. And so make sure that you're keeping your emotions in check, and, consult with your friends because they know you. And if they have a bad feeling, trust your gut, I think is really important. But maintain healthy skepticism. Discuss online relationships with your friends. Let them know, who you'll be meeting, where you're going to be meeting them, some facts about them, and just make sure you're gaining some perspective before you actually either A, meet with them, or B, for sure, if they're asking you for money. Make sure you set financial boundaries. Mm-hmm. Never send money or share your financial information with someone that you don't know. That kind of seems like common sense.
No-brainer, but it's like, wait a minute. Yeah.
But people can appeal to your heart and, I have this situation, or, my mom's sick and I really need some money, or, my car broke down or I need a new phone. My phone broke and I really want to be able to call you because I love you. So just make sure you're setting those healthy boundaries. And then you can report these scams to the authorities. The FTC and the FBI have different sites where you can report suspicious activities. The FBI is its Internet Crime Complaint Center, and the FTC is the Federal Trade Commission. So they have sites online. And then finally, you may want to block or remove these scanners from social media and devices.
Seems like that's where a lot of this is coming from, is the online and dating apps. And I think part of it is go back to the old school, like meet in person, and if you can.
Yes,
That's just
exactly.
the reality. So we are hoping that by having this conversation, we're empowering you with knowledge. We really want to encourage you to be open, and have these conversations, like Rachel mentioned, with friends or be with family. Just, it's okay to share, because I think if you share your experiences, then it opens up the door for maybe your family or friends might see some red flags or give you some insights that you're missing. And obviously, we don't want you to be a victim. And then also, being educated on where, what sites are you going to, and are you meeting in person, or what is the relationship? And once again, can you, if they do say they're traveling or doing those things we talked about earlier, verifying or making sure that you can meet them in person. So I think it's I haven't had it happen to myself yet, but I've seen it. I've heard some stories, but we just want you to be aware and be cautious. And we still want you to find romance and love. I mean, that's, we're not saying not to do that, but we're just saying, be mindful of the situations.
It can be a scary world out there,
Yes.
but it doesn't have to be, as long as you're empowering yourself and, sharing information with, your friends. And if you do have one of these situations, definitely report what's happening to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, or the FBI, because we need to stop the scammers. Yeah. And final takeaways are it's really important to be vigilant. Don't click on links that you don't know where it's going to take you. Be smart with your money. Set some financial boundaries, and check in with your friends and trust your intuition.
And so we are available. So if you do have a financial plan and you're taking large sums of money, we'll stop you.
Exactly.
That's why you should have a plan. But if you want to chat, we're happy to set up a consultation with you. You can reach us at 760-692-5700. And we appreciate you joining us today. And thank you for getting savvy about your finances and lives. And remember to savvy up. Please stay tuned for important regulatory disclosures.
Savvy Women Wealth Management is an SEC registered investment advisor. The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry and how we may be able to assist. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. As always, please remember investing involves risk and possible loss of principal capital. Tax considerations presented may not be appropriate for every individual circumstance. A tax professional should be consulted before making any decisions about your tax liability.